Oh my goodness. I beat the countdown to midnight. I wasn't actually thinking that I was going to make it. Oh, wow. So, yeah, yesterday I was talking a lot about vulnerability. For those of you who weren't with the stream yesterday, I thought it was a very important talk. Um, and felt good about it. There were things that I think that I left out, but we got there. Um, so I've been in a lot of meetings, some of them group therapy that I'm running, some of them therapy groups that uh, I've overseen, in a way, listening in. Some of them just, classrooms on Zoom and whatnot. And what I've noticed throughout this week in particular is that I must not be the one and only person who is uh, also psychically harmed by the word coronavirus. You know, you can go, like, even though this is affecting your life in so many ways, right? You can go uh, hours without saying the word. It's like Mufasa, ooh, say it again. And, like Voldemort. Or if you've ever watched those 80s crappy horror movies about the warlock, who, if he were to speak God's name backwards, he would like undo uh, all of creation. You know, it's like one of those things. And here I am shutting down my own Discord chat uh, because of the horrible little sound that it keeps on making. Bloop, 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 bloop. Poseidon saying, "What foods are you craving since the plague began?" Um, huh, that's a good question. I've heard that a loss of a sense of taste and smell is one of the uh, hallmarks of this virus, because when it makes the philia slough off of the top layer of your skin cells in your lungs, it's also doing that same sort of practice all over the inside of your nose. And I haven't had much of a change in my cravings per se, but I did have a microwave burrito earlier today, and I didn't have any Taco Bell hot sauce packets left in my little assorted packets collection. I have a little jar where I keep all the different condiment packets because I like to reduce and reuse along with recycling. So I had two hot sauces in my fridge. There was Cholula and Tapatio. No Tabasco, no Louisiana hot sauce. It was just Cholula or Tapatio. And I chose the Cholula because I liked the little wooden top to the little wooden topper, the cap. And yeah, it tasted like Taco Bell hot sauce, but with grass clippings in it. Like, it just wasn't Taco Bell hot sauce. So I suppose it's Taco Bell, not even hot, mild sauce, but in copious amounts. If you want it hotter, just put more on. Um, yeah, and not even Taco Bell food, mind you, just the hot sauce packets. Um, there's a reason why they ended up selling it in stores. There was demand for it. Um, Alan says boiling front of the temples. Like, I don't have a fever. Are you guys trying to convince me that I might have the coronavirus? I have too much toilet paper in my house to have the coronavirus. Anyways, we only got 7 people here, and we're only 5 minutes in. So we're going to wait until the others join us. Possibly the people that are stuck in my own Discord. I'm distracting from my own live stream. Poseidon says, "Will I still hoard toilet paper out of nostalgia after this crisis is over?" No, but I was buying it in bulk before anyway, just so that I would have to make less trips to the store because I'm lazy. So, like, underneath the stairs, there's this closet that opens up to underneath the stairs. That thing's been stuffed with toilet paper for forever. Okay, Alan says, rubbing the eyes from pain. I don't have any pain in my eyes. Nope. If I look like to the left, this eye was red on this side of my eye, and I think conjunctivitis was one of the things, but I think it's just actually just like a little burst blood vessel or something on this side of my eye. And it's not even as bad as it was this morning. Good evening, Coherent Nonsense. Poseidon wants to know what I'm smoking, and it's neither. I don't smoke. Don't have diarrhea. Don't look at my toilet paper. So, to start off, like at around 10 minutes, I like to hit what my title is talking about. And to start this off, I'm going to say that I've been watching Thunderfoot's videos about projections of the death count that we're all going to have. You know, there was 1,000 new deaths in the U.S. Declared today on April 2nd, right? 1,059. And now it's April 3rd, so I don't know what the new number is going to be. So we had 1,000 people in the U.S. die, 5,000 worldwide, right? And tomorrow, I'm guessing we're going to be closer to 6,000, which is the equivalent of 2 9/11s worldwide. You know, the worldwide total will be 2 9/11s worth of dead people. And still, there are churches that are like, no, we have like a First Amendment right to assemble. So let me get this right. Abortion clinics are essential, but churches are optional and need to go home. You know, that's the kind of arguments that they're making. And I'm like, shut it. Just try to be safe and accept this preventative social distancing we're trying to force on you because we're trying to make you live, right? So my ass is dragon says it's 6,059 that it'll be new dead cases, and so I don't know where you're getting your numbers, but based on the general trajectory, I'm going to accept that number and say, fine, might as well be. When you get to the thousands and we're counting like how many people dead, I expect that there will be revisions in the number. There's a tolerance there. Like, we shouldn't have numbers so high that there's a tolerance of like, yeah, you know, plus or minus. You know, a couple could have been the day before, but they didn't find them for a day. You know, there's going to be fucking revisions now because we have so many people fucking dying daily, right? So what I want to talk about is how We don't trust the Chinese numbers. Now, this has come up in Thunderfoot's videos that a lot of people don't trust Chinese death counts. And some of these people are like conspiracy theorists saying that the death toll was actually somewhere around 500,000 in China based on some reports about the number of urns that were delivered to the Wuhan province, right? I've seen those conspiracy theorist reports. I can't verify whether or not those were actual numbers or actual footage from an actual time, but they're showing footage of urns being taken off of trucks, um, and apparently each truck they've measured out like could hold this many urns, and they're delivering just enough to cremate all of the people who they say that have died, like 3,000 in just one of those trucks. And there's trucks being delivered like to all over the city, and so they're like extrapolating out that this must be a lot of urns, so a lot more people must have died, right? I've seen that, right? I'm just saying I don't trust China because they're a totalitarian regime who wants to sell me cheap crap on Wish. And they will lock down their media and lie to their own people. They've proven that they will do that time and time again. Just think back to my whole like First Amendment stuff on this channel. You'll know why I don't trust China for shit, right? But Thunderfoot's shown where their curve to their math for their numbers, it looks similar to other curves. And they have measures that they can take to lock down their country that are better than other countries because they can roll a tank down their streets, right? I'll give you that part for them flattening their curve, that they'd have enough power to do that to their own people. I believe in China's ability. I have confidence in China's ability to be oppressive to their own people. So for that, golden star. But for all the other shit, no, I don't believe them. I also have seen how they lied to the World Health Organization about how bad this was going to be, and that has cost lives in all the other countries. And strangely enough, I think that part of what my own president, is saying about this being China's fault in a way, I actually think that that's got some merit. If they had been more proactive in coming out with their information, which would have hurt their economy, yes, it would have saved lives in other countries, maybe. I mean, we did squander what lead we had on the knowledge that this thing was going to go around, and now we've got 1,000 people dying a day in our country and growing. But what I want to say is China lied, right? And I believe they probably lied about their numbers, and they probably still are, right? Some of that is a baseless belief just based on previous actions by China, but I just don't trust their numbers, right? Now, in our case, the US, I believe that we are lying about our numbers. The first way we lied about our numbers is that Princess cruise ship was left out at sea and not allowed to dock in America. And when you looked at all the numbers of all the different websites and how they reported on who was dead where, it made the deaths for the US seem a lot lower because this ship was stuck out in international waters. So it got a special designation of being its own little entity compared to countries, right? So these people were stuck on this ship, and this has happened a few more times in other places. Ships with dead people on them and people dying and people who are going to catch a virus that's going to kill them. They're all stuck on a ship, and nobody will let them get off the ship and possibly save the people who wouldn't be catching the virus. You know, the people who are going to catch the virus because it's a giant fucking petri dish now, right? They're leaving them on the ships to fucking die, you know, because they don't want to increase their numbers. And this has happened not just in the US, it's happened in other countries, right? But initially, that Princess cruise ship line, that ship should have been counted against American numbers from the get-go. And that gave people this false sense that maybe we had this thing under control. They were controlling the numbers to control public perception of what was going on, right? So there's problems with the American numbers too. I mean, people try their hardest to try to get a test for the coronavirus. They have all the symptoms just short of, you know, dying, you know, just short of severe. They have all those flu-like symptoms, and then they call and they're told, well, your case isn't severe enough yet, and we don't have enough tests, so just stay at home and self-quarantine. And then those people, they're not counted in the numbers. There are people who don't go in for anything and just they feel a little sick and then it passes and they're like, oh, well, maybe that was it. And they just don't even get tested. Some of them self-quarantine, some of them don't. This is horrible, right? So our numbers are off, right? We can tell the total of confirmed of the test kits we've given out. We can tell the total dead and how it's rising. Those numbers I might trust from the US, but I don't trust the rest of them. So now we come to another thing that I've seen, right? This is probably, as far as coronavirus conspiracy theories, this might be the first time you've heard this if you don't speak Spanish. So I had a conversation with a friend of mine who helped me to translate something of a report from Spain, because Spain and Italy of late have been able to flatten their curve very strangely. Like if you look at the general logic curve, there's an S to it, right? If you watch Thunderfoot's videos, he explains it very well. But basically, there's a ramp up in the cases, and then there's a ramp down, right? You can do it this way too. I don't know which way you guys are looking at this. Anyways, that S curve, that logic curve, has a flattened top to it for Spain for the last 4 days. And so why? Why the weird flattened top to it? How was it that they were able to take such an upward trajectory and make an angle at it like a sawtooth wave, you know, like a flattened fucking overdriven fucking guitar sine wave, like fucking flat? How did they do that? Right? Was it all of a sudden they all just decided to social distance themselves much better and they all washed their hands at the same time? No. Something is going on with their numbers. Now, Italy's numbers are all over the fucking place. I can't fucking make heads or tails of like a pattern to that because it's they're not trying for a logic curve. And I think part of that is their lack of testing kits at the beginning, their pyramid as far as like having so many old people being supported by younger people in Italy. That has a lot to do with it, and also not having enough respirators and PPE for their healthcare workers or ventilators for the people who got sick. And so after you hit this certain critical mass, you get the people who died. That's why we're flattening the curve, right? So Italy is got this strange spikes in its numbers, but Spain had this smooth uptick of its cases of dead every day, and then it went like that. Why? Right? So I did some digging, and I found reports of anyone over 65 years old presenting to Spanish hospitals is now being sent home without care. Like their triage right now is saying, if you're over 65, we're not going to treat you whatsoever. Like not even before you get to needing a ventilator level. If you're over 65, you present with COVID-19 symptoms, go home. And they're not declaring them presumptive positive, right? So when they go home and they die, their healthcare workers that go out and retrieve the bodies, they're not saying that these were coronavirus cases. They're saying that it was multiple organ failure, right? And I might be the first English speaking person who's translated some of these things for you guys, but in the coming weeks, it's going to come out that cases that probably should have been considered deaths due to coronavirus in Spain were attributed to multiple organ failure, which they're using the ICD-10 codes to find like a multiple organ failure, comma, unspecified, right? So that they can hide this number of old people dying. Well, there's going to be a spike in multiple organ failure deaths that will be traceable in their death statistics in the annals of history, say next year or the year after that. And when people go back and look at this, they're going to be able to see that that spike fills in this gap that they've created in their numbers, where their death numbers are ramping up daily and then all of a sudden flattened before they get to 1,000. Because 1,000 deaths a day, that shit's scary, right? More than 1,000 people dying, that's like, psychologically, it's a lot scarier than under 1,000 people dying. So we've got to keep it from getting to 1,000 people dying. Meanwhile, the U.S. is like, fuck it, we just lost 1,000 people yesterday. Toast to those who lost their lives. Woohoo, we're number one. Okay, so that was the rant of the title of the video. And I see my chat has gone on without me. Holy crap. Let me get my mouse over here. Brian moved over from my Discord chat into my actual live stream. So thank you, Brian, for following over and moderating as well. You got the little wrench. It says, China has a fairly large Muslim population, doesn't it? Not that they want to admit, because they kind of have them in little internment camps, the Uyghurs. They don't want you to know that either. They don't like their fearless leader being compared to Winnie the Pooh either, for some reason. Who fucking cares? I don't like being compared to Kenny Rogers, especially now that he's dead. I don't like being compared to Michael J. Fox's father in Teen Wolf. But the shit happens. Some people say I sound like fucking Seth Rogen. I don't know why. All right. Poseidon says the Dems blamed Hillary's 2016 defeat on Russia. Hell yes, Trump can blame the Wuhan virus on China. Actually, Phantom Lion was saying that he called it the Wuhan virus because the person who was the whistleblower in China that later died of it was calling it the Wuhan virus. But I'm just going to say, prior to that naming, there was already guidelines from the World Health Organization stating that the name of new diseases shall not contain anything resembling a race or a geographic location. You know, they're basically SJW rules about naming viruses. They were already in place by the World Health Organization, so it is improper to name any new viruses after a geographic location, even though we are frequently bringing up the Spanish flu as a reference point to what's happening. No new viruses get to be named that way. So Brian says Europe white people were responsible for smallpox. Yes, your point. Okay. Let's see. Jamie thinks that all the people on the left are protecting China. I'm generally regarded as left leaning, and I am the world's worst SJW. I suck at being an SJW, and I try. And I will tell you that ever since this virus became a thing in Wuhan, I have not purchased a single thing off Wish.com for fear that I'm going to get the virus mailed to me from a worker who was underpaid and couldn't afford sick leave, and they coughed into my freaking bag, and then I get a virus from the cheap crap that I buy on Wish.com. I was doing retail therapy on Wish.com and buying like $40-50 worth of things, and then having them show up like for like a whole month spaced out because you don't know when they're going to get here off the boat from China. Shit, I put some of the things away that I ordered last time. But yeah, I got some paintbrushes that were cheap, different types of paintbrushes and, just all sorts of little cheap crap. All the stickers that you see me holding up in before my videos, most of them have come from China. Look, this one right here. That came from China. I'm going to pair up these two right here in a future video, I think, for the thumbnail, because I've got fuck and duck, and they rhyme like fuck a duck, right? I love Chinese stickers, so I buy them for $1. They show up 2-3 months later. I forgot that I even ordered them, and it's like little Christmases in my mailbox every time I go to the mailbox, right? That was my retail therapy. But then coronavirus happened, and I was like, you know what? I'm not buying anything from China until I get a vaccine. And that is probably racist. It's, for me, it's social distancing. I did shop at the Asian markets to get some food, though, because one of the things you can't get from an Asian market is actual Chinese food. The food's sourced from other places. So, Coherent Nonsense says Canada had 1,100 deaths yesterday total. Okay. Let's see. I have a whole bunch of numbers from a whole bunch of countries. Canada had no, not 1,100 deaths. On April 2nd, they had 104 deaths total, maybe 111 or 11,000 cases. Wait, 1,100 cases, not deaths, because their deaths were 104 yesterday. They'll get there. They've got Vancouver. They've got Toronto. They'll get there. It's not that cold. People are out doing their thing. Canada has rednecks. Am I saying that rednecks are the ones who are spreading the virus? Yes. Rednecks that have to go to church, rednecks that don't want to conform to the authorities telling them to stay at home. Yes, it's the rednecks who spread the virus. And I'm not just saying that because I'm an SJW who has to hate rednecks like by policy, or else I'll have my SJW card pulled and ripped in two. No, rednecks spread coronavirus. Okay. Look up the map of which states have quarantines and stay-at-home orders and which states don't, and it looks like a fucking political map. You know, it looks like the last presidential elections electoral college map. All the states that Trump won are pretty much the states that don't want to do stay-at-home orders, and they're the ones who are going to keep this thing going and keep the economy shut down because they couldn't fucking stay at home and Netflix and chill for a fucking government decree. Brian, I don't want you getting kung flu either because, yeah, you're a little bit more long in the beard than me. Oh, Alan wants to call it burn flu. Like Bernie Sanders is the reason why we have this pandemic. I don't believe that, but I think it would be fucking hilarious to see you make that argument that Bernie Sanders is responsible for the U.S. response to the pandemic and all the people dying. Like if you could say that like rednecks are afraid of Bernie Sanders and so they got spooked and bought all the toilet paper, and you could prove it with some sort of fucking tangible evidence, I would be willing to listen to your argument. Um, Coherent Nonsense said a 3D printer would have been a great investment for you, Apocalypse. Yeah, it would have. And I was working my way up to it. I actually wanted a CNC router first because the filament stuff for 3D printers, you know, post apocalypse is going to be hard to come by. But flat pieces of wood to be able to carve with a CNC printer, that I could come across just about anywhere. And so I wanted to get a CNC printer for my birthday. And now, you know, times are tight, and the type that I wanted was a very expensive one. And I'm like, am I really going to use it a lot? I mean, I could just spend my time painting, you know. Benaberry says router bits and then deletes the message, and rightfully so, Benaberry, because you can find router bits all over the place to be able to stick in your CNC router kit, especially when it was a DeWalt router that was in just a CNC machine. It was like a very common DeWalt router that I would be working with, where you could find bits for it all over the fucking place. Ah, see, Benaberry said, I know I screwed up. And I applaud Benaberry I think Ben and Barry might have watched my last stream where I'm saying it's okay to be wrong. Put yourself out there, and if you are, just fucking say it. Yeah, I was wrong. I want to give Ben and Barry a hug, except for social distancing says, go fuck yourself. But good job. I pulled this down from my rack over there. This is one of my sketches of Charlize Theron nude. It's somebody else already did the sketch. That's my study of their sketch. But it's now on my desk and in the way. Sign says, should Biden take group photos during the convention or remain wrapped up like a mummy? Oh my goodness. I think they should probably put him in a bubble like the Pope, like the Pope Mobile bubble, and not let any germs get on him at all. It doesn't really matter though, because I don't think that he's going to win. I do think it's really amazing the way that people are like listen and believe, except for in that particular case where a woman's trying to come out and say, "Hey, that guy, who's running for president, you know, even though you'd believe any fucking story about his competitor, you know, hey, take me seriously." And they're like, we're just gonna not talk about that. Mm. And so you got all these independent media sources like talking about this and investigating it, and yeah, it's interesting. I suck as a social justice warrior. I know. I can't. I promise, I am a left leaning person, right? I fucking promise. I was gonna be a delegate, and I'm glad that I'm not missing out on anything because, you know, coronavirus has me kind of on house arrest. By the way, I just completed one whole week without leaving this property, not driving anywhere, not doing anything except for taking out the trash and checking the mail outside of the house. And I moved some stuff around in the yard so that some grass wouldn't grow in one spot because it was hard to mow that spot, and I just wanted the grass preemptively to not grow there. Oh, Brian says one of his radio presenters had COVID in February. Alan said, R.I.P. Bernie, just died, heart gave out. I would share the link, but you will find it. And then chain emoji. Here we go. Here we go. I will search. You got me. Bernie Sanders. Biden is saying it's not the time to call for Sanders to drop out. That's weird. But no, there's no news about Bernie dying. If that was a horrible joke, Alan Shildroth from Podunk, USA. Oh, you like putting out the bait, huh? You didn't see me freak out, though, did you? No. No, I mean, I am really burned out on, every which way that we try to get a progressive candidate. They get screwed out of winning. We get screwed out of our progressive candidate time and time again. And I will still vote, but I'll say that all those Bernie bots, the Bernie bros that won't uh, accept anything but Bernie or bust people. I understand. If they don't vote, if he's not in it, if they go to vote for a third party candidate, I totally understand. Like uh, another YouTuber, Daxon Islander. Some of you know him as the psychological cynic. I remember having a talk with him in Colorado Springs about how he thought that the Republican Party and the Democratic Party were two wings of the same party, you know, and that he was going to be voting libertarian forever and not caring if people told him, "Hey, you're just throwing your vote away," you know, because at this point, um, what they're trying to supplant as the nominee for the Democratic Party for a lot of people is them throwing their vote away either way because the person does not stand for anything that they wanted to vote for, you know. In particular, in my circle of friends, because I'm a disabled vet who lives around, military organizations and whatnot, um, there are a lot of Iraq vets who don't want anyone who voted for the Iraq War, and Bernie Sanders voted against it. Let's see. No Privacy says, it sounds like what I've been saying for 8 years about parties. Okay. I have a feeling that the way that we're having this conversation right now, with 20 of you there and 9 up thumbs, you guys are going to rely more and more on the internet and doing your own research of the facts. And just, I feel like there's a whole generation of people that are becoming more aware of how production polish is shit, right? Like, I've been seeing a lot of videos in my feed from a show called Rising with Crystal Ball and Sager or something or other, and they have a set, right? And it looks like a professional set. They've got at least 3 webcams that they're recording onto, right? And they have a program that lets them switch between feeds from those cameras. And just by having a nice desk and a set, like a printed banner behind them of the name of their show, and just a, a relatively nice set, and they look like, the Today Show, basically, like they're modeling themselves after every other talk show. Having that level of production polish means that they get taken seriously a little bit more by some people, and that's why they do it. That might be why I don't get in front of this camera wearing any of the suits that I own. I actually kind of associate my best suit with funerals, so I don't like wearing it. But I have some other jackets, and I still am not wearing it for you guys because I'm not trying to fucking prove anything. I'm making fun of all this shit. Oh, I got Mr. Down Thumb has visited me. That's awesome. So tomorrow is Friday. Nothing special is happening then, but I think on Saturday, if I'm reading right in the texts that I've seen on Twitter. I think there's going to be a live breakfast club thing where people are going to uh, all be on the same round table discussing things, and they're going to try to uh, create an environment where people can watch some of their favorite YouTubers and just get through all this shit. And I think, just like I was talking about at the beginning of this video, it's going to be a lot of avoiding the word coronavirus, like it was Voldemort or Mufasa. So it's supposed to go on starting around 5 p.m. Mountain Time. And that's, Denver, where I live. That's the calculation for that. Daytime for, I guess it's not, it's like nighttime for Got That Funk, who was pulling it all together. But it's like 4 p.m. for Bionic Dance, who's said that she wants to do it. 7 p.m. Eastern for some of those guys. But yeah. Oh, Brian says Friday at midnight, UK, there's a Wub Factor happening. So, how many hours away from me is that? That would make it like 7 p.m. my time, 5 p.m. my time. Are we 7 hours apart? Okay, so there's a Wub Factor. Um, I can't do the whole promo for you because I forget too much. It's on wolfmanradio.co.uk. There's a fucking Facebook page for it. You can find the Wub Factor by looking for it on Facebook. Wolfmanradio.com? .com? It's a fucking UK thing. Why isn't it .co.uk? Anyways. Oh, and .co.uk. Okay. But you got the .com so that the American people would understand, huh? Because we're just too stupid to put in .co.uk. Sakurava syndrome. You live in New Mexico. Good on you. Your time is the same mountain time as me, so yeah, 5 o'clock on Saturday should be on the Breakfast Club channel. They should have some meeting of a whole bunch of your favorite YouTubers. Jamie is making the argument that if we had different forms of government based on different religions, that we might be doing better in this pandemic. The numbers from Iran don't say so. I think Misty's doing the lockdown of the whole house right now. I just felt like the air pressure changed. There's some cold front that came over Denver today. I feel it in my bones. You guys don't know, but I've got like an electric blanket that I sit on, and then I turn on my electric blanket so like warms my butt in my cozy chair. Um. Anyways, I'm gonna call it It's 50 minutes. It's not normally as long as I want to go. But thank you guys for the 13 up thumbs, um, and whoever gave me the one down thumb. I'm glad that you're not dead of coronavirus too. If you weren't there for me, I wouldn't know that you were still alive, and I want everyone to live through this. Yes, Corny, I have a butt warmer. You have you're saying that this is too much information, and your name is my ass's dragon. I would figure that you'd want to know about my ass and how warm it is. Ugh. Okay. Talk to you guys later.